We are live. It's Friday night. It is football night. Of course, Liverpool, a huge game on Sunday against West Ham in London at 4:30. But before we get into that big West Ham sandwich, dig your teeth into the West Ham sandwich, we will have a little chat, a recap about the game on Wednesday night. Some X-rated stuff from the Reds against Atletico Madrid. And to talk about it is three legends, as usual. Ivan Jennings, at Ivan Jennings on Twitter. Jack Mac LSC, and Owen the hippie from the Cop On podcast. Welcome, my friends.
Thanks for the invite.
Good evening.
Good evening. Listen, guys, already qualified. I just cannot believe 4 games gone, 12 points, top of the league, won the group. It's over, 2 games to go. I think it's the first time we've ever won the first 4 games in the Champions League. I mean, we're breaking records left, right. We're like U2 in their heyday, breaking records all over the shop. And brilliant performance, Ivan, on Wednesday night. And there was 2 or 3 really key performances in that game for me. I'm sure it was similar for you.
Yeah.
But there was only one bad thing, a little shadow in the horizon, of course, with the Bobby injury. It looks like he's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I
think you're right. Yeah.
So, Ivan, what's your recap on Wednesday night?
But you're right with the first time you've won the first four games in the group. So that's an incredible achievement in what was the group of death when it was pulled out of the hat. Bobby is out for a while. I think Klopp said today that it's a really bad tear, which is a worry, and you could see when he was coming off it didn't look good.
Wow.
But it started like the game over there, but it was over. We had that game won after 20 minutes. We were just superb. Boston at the back, I think great having Matip back. Mane was superb, and if he hadn't got that yellow, probably would have stayed on and might have scored another one.
Yeah.
So it was just all around, excuse me, really, really good. And I think going in now with 2 games to spare, having qualified in first as well, so not having to worry about topping the group or having to get something in the last 2 games. And what a potential experience for some of the younger players going to the San Siro potentially and playing against AC Milan. Phenomenal, really well done to the lads, I think, and credit to Klopp for getting those 4 wins. Really, really good.
No, absolutely. And I heard Klopp after it saying that I know you get 2.5 million for a win in the Champions League, something like that. So it's 5 million there. I know that's not huge money nowadays, but I think he won't play a League Cup team against Porto and Anfield, and he won't play a League Cup team against Milan. Yeah. He'll play a decent enough side, but it does give the likes of Salah, does give the likes of Alisson and maybe Van Dijk, even maybe Fabinho in maybe the Porto game, a chance of sitting on the bench or something where you wouldn't have had that, because we know what happened in Mitchell in the game with Jota.
Yeah.
We all know. We all know. We don't want to repeat it. So.
But I think you're right. The money is important. Like, it definitely is. 2.5 million, whether you're fucking Liverpool or AC Milan,
for one game,
it's a mass. And when they compare like with the Carling Cup, so I'd say the owners are saying, listen, that it's an important enough game. The objective was qualification. The objective was finishing first, but you don't turn up your nose at 2.5 million having come out of 18 months of the COVID pandemic.
5 million, potentially 5, 2.5 million to win. So the thing about but that's true, as you just said. I don't even think you get 2.5 million for winning the bleeding Mickey Mouse Cup.
You don't. It's $100,000 or something like that, isn't it? Like it's banana stuff. Yeah, it's absolutely, in comparison, it's banana stuff. There was an article in the paper 2 weeks ago about it, and you're kind of going, why would teams even bother? Or why would Premiership teams even bother? It's not worth their while.
I don't know how that trophy. I know years ago it used to be called a Milk Cup, but I don't know how it's a major. I don't know how it's called a bleeding major trophy. I know the amount of teams in it at the start, but the prize money and the stuff in it is just ridiculous. Jackie boy, obviously Wednesday night. You've done a few shows since. That was Liverpool on the Wednesday night in the Champions League. That was back to the way we should be.
Yeah, back to our bread and butter, really, mate. First time I went to game. Yeah. No, first time I went in for Europe in years, mate. I haven't been to a European game since I was a little kid with my dad. But it was great. The atmosphere. It's crazy how different the atmospheres are to league games. You can't put it's just Liverpool and European nights. It's complete polar opposites in relation to the atmosphere. But yeah, bread and butter, as Ivan's just alluded to, excellent in every area. We swept them by within the first 25, 30 minutes. And then the resulted to the classic Atletico Madrid tactics of absolutely volleying Sadio Mane. Yeah, he picked up a yellow card, but potentially we needed to drag him off because he would have turned around absolutely thumped one of the Atletico Madrid players, really. But we want Sadio to be fit. But against an Atletico Madrid side, yes, it's good and bad they have been playing this year, but they can always be a frustrating side, like we see it in the reverse fixture a couple of weeks ago. But we've sent a message yet again already. I think it's just us, Bayern Munich, Juventus, and Ajax who've already qualified, all four of us. So, yeah, as much as the prize money is important, but you already alluded to, lads, we don't really want to be risking our main players, especially in other competitions, really. I think that's Diego Simeone in the background trying to get out of it.
That's Suarez! That's Suarez! Who the fuck's dog is that? Your dog, Jack, is it?
No, so someone else. The dog hasn't broken in. There's some random dog. It's my sister's boyfriend.
The hot dog at Anfield. That's what it's going to end up as.
I'd be shitting myself if it was just a random dog.
Own Slash from Guns N' Roses, the guitarist, is in the house. Yeah.
All right.
What's your take on from the big one on Wednesday?
Oh, it was beautiful, wasn't it? It was absolutely beautiful on so many levels. Just look at the stats. I've got them in front of me. There were 19 shots for Liverpool, 6 on target. We could have scored many more, actually. They only had 5 shots and none on target. And I know, of course, they were playing a lot of the game with 10 men. He was sent off in the 36th minute. But before that, we were completely dominating. We were brilliant. The whole team was brilliant. I think, there were just fabulous performances everywhere. And, on about 60 minutes, for all of Simeone's guff and his hoo-ha and all of his nonsense about, playing with heart and passion that you would expect from the Simeone team, they shook hands on 50 minutes. I spent the last half an hour of the match doing something I've never done before, keep a tally, because I was so impressed, even with 11 versus 10, I was so impressed with our counter-pressing. Every time they got the ball, we smothered them, right? So, for example, from the 61st to the 70th minute, I was keeping a tally of how many passes they could actually make before we won the ball back, every time we lost possession. And bear in mind, we had Thiago on the field for most of the last half hour. I can't remember when he came on exactly. But we were keeping the ball. We were doing moves of like 20, 30 passes before they touched the ball, right? But as soon as they got the ball, they were between the 61st and 70th minute, they kept the ball for 3 passes, 1 pass, 1 pass, 1 pass, 4 passes, 1 pass, 1 pass, and 3 passes. So they had possession 8 times in 9 minutes, which is not very much. And for 5 of those 8, they couldn't even go beyond 1 pass. The counter-pressing, even 11 versus 10, was supreme. And there's this Liverpool, which can dominate any team, which can beat anyone in the world. But we have to remember, there's also the team. It's the same team that lost, well, not exactly the same team, of course, but it lost 6 out of 7 games in February and March. It got beaten by Aston Villa 7-2. It's a weird thing. When Liverpool get it wrong, we get it really wrong. But when we get it right, and we seem to be getting it right, we seem to be, just really getting into a groove. It's such a shame about Bobby's injury, but I think we've got enough players now with Fabinho and Thiago back. We can really start kicking some ass.
Yeah, no, I think Liverpool were wounded by that Brighton result. I think we wanted to show what we're made of Wednesday night, and it was perfect timing for us to get Atletico because their shithousery backfired on them over the years. It backfired on them at home when we beat them 3-2, and Griezmann was sent off. It backfired on him at Anfield. And you know, that was nice to see. The ref actually wasn't taking any shite at all. As I said the other night, he was like a Vegas card dealer, wasn't he? Throwing the cards out. He was throwing probably the weekend works over in Vegas doing the card table.
Yeah.
He was throwing the cards out. So like I was worried for Mane even just before halftime. Get him off the bleeding bit. He would not have lasted the hour. I don't think he would have, because they were at him like bleeding, you know, biting him and tickling him and doing everything to him to get him off. But unfortunately for us, of course, Bobby got injured. Sure, you can't foresee these things. I think it was the right decision to do it. But I'll tell you what, guys, 2 players stood out for me in that game. Simicus at fullback was absolutely brilliant. His deliveries were DHL-like. And Oxlade-Chamberlain. No more TikTok dancing around the field. He was the proper Oxlade-Chamberlain, the man, as Klopp would call him, not the boy. He was making the right decisions. He did lose the ball once or twice. He was doing a lot of dribbling. He was like a 6-month-old in a day crash, the amount of dribbling he did. So that was a really big bonus for me. Those 2 players coming out of that game was huge. What do you think, Ivan? Ox going forward. I think he starts on Sunday.
Yeah, the thing about it, like Simicas, every game Simicas has played, he's been superb, like without question. He's come into the team. I know he didn't get a run for a while, but then when he came in, superb. And Keith often talks about his delivery being absolutely special, and it is. But he's dogged. I'm trying to think of the game where he was kicked and kicked and kicked, and he kept going and going and going. He got up and down again and up and down again. So he's physical. He's got the bite. The problem I have with Ox is if he plays at the weekend, there's a good chance he'll have one of his down games. And the reason I think he played so well the other night is because he had played poorly at Brighton, and I think he has a large responsibility in how poorly we played. I'd say Klopp went through him after the game, hammered him all week in training, and gave him the opportunity to prove himself again. And as I tweeted on Wednesday night, this is last chance saloon for Ox, and he was superb. But that's what he can do. It's can he do it Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday,
Can he
Sunday,
do it
Wednesday,
consistently,
Sunday.
basically?
That's the question. They're the basics of the best players. The best players do it week in, week out, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it is. I hope he starts as well, because if he plays like he played during the week, it'll be brilliant. I just have a fear that it'll be a come down on Sunday, and it's just West Ham.
Well, it's a nice option to have in your back pocket.
It's a lovely option to have.
I mean, Klopp might go with the dream tree, as they call it: Thiago, Hendo, and Fabinho. You never know, Owen. What you think? The little dream tree.
Well, I mean Thiago, man, I love watching Thiago. I thought he was, apart from that one time where you could hear Hendo. I don't know if you heard it on your, wherever you were watching the game, but you could hear Hendo say, "Keep the ball," when Thiago had it, and like literally less than a second later, he lost the ball, and Atletico broke for that one chance that they had. In the second half, really, apart from the deflected offside goal that's for Suarez. But no, Chamberlain, that was his best game of the season. I'm just looking at his record. I mean, he also played when we beat FC Porto 5-1. I think he was a sub, and he played when we beat Watford 5-0, when we beat Atletico Madrid 3-2. These are mostly substitute appearances, of course. When we beat Manchester United 5-0 at Old Trafford. I don't know if that result passed you by, guys, or if maybe you were aware. 5-0 at Old Trafford. And he also played... Yeah, I think it was 5-0 to Liverpool Football Club at Old Trafford.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, luckily the computer's here to remind me. Preston North End, of course, he played. He started that game. He wasn't so great against Brighton, but then the game against Atletico, which is the latest one, it's really his best performance for a long time for me. Really, really, really good.
I'll probably be harsh on him for Saturday against Brighton. Well, I think he was pretty poor. I think we were all pretty poor, and I said the other night I thought we collectively probably underestimated Brighton when they came back at us when we were 2 up.
Yeah, I mean, even when we were 2 up, they were still making chances. I think the shot count at that point was like 4 shots each, and we were winning 2-0. But they had lots. Brighton were brilliant. Hats off to them. But the thing is, with Oxlade-Chamberlain against Brighton, he only managed 33 passes. I think he played 70 odd minutes, didn't he? Because he came on as a sub for Naby. And then in his 70 odd minutes the other day, he made 58 passes. So it was like 25 passes more. He was much more involved. Of course, that was probably helped by the red card. But that's the Chamberlain I want to see, is someone who's really, really involved in the game, and who's, and he's just driving with the ball and, tackling as well. He made 4 interceptions. He was brilliant defensively, Chamberlain. So yeah, long may it continue, and may hopefully take that form into the weekend. I don't know if I would start him though, if we've got Thiago Henderson and
don't worry,
Fabinho.
I'm going to ask you for your 11 for West Ham in about 2 minutes. Jack, what's your take on Wednesday? Who stood out for you?
Yeah, I've got to mention Costas. I know he's both, all of these have alluded to anyway, but for me, I personally wouldn't drop Costas. I know it's a big shout, and obviously, Robbo, we've seen how good he has been in recent years, and he's needed this. Probably one of the keyest areas in this Liverpool squad. We've been crying out for fresh competition, and I think Liverpool haven't conceded a goal, and Liverpool haven't been beat since Costas when he has played,
That's right.
which is absolutely staggering. And obviously, given how good his exploits were against Atletico Madrid, for me, I know a lot of people will be clamouring to play up Robbo, but for me personally, I'd like to see Costas give a little run and because you know what Robbo's going to do in the next couple of weeks when he does play for Scotland, if he is, or in the next couple of months, he's going to be coming under such severe pressure in the next 12, 16 months. Obviously, you don't even know if Scotland qualified for the World Cup or whatnot, but that his physical demands on his body over the last 3-4 years, as much as he probably personally would say, yeah, boss, I'm capable to play it week in, week out. But I think if Costas wasn't playing as this good as he has been shown in recent weeks, then I think you'd say, yeah, start with Robbo. But I was massively impressed, especially going forward. And just a quick one on Ox as well. I'll hold my hands up as well. I think we were on your show, Dave. I said he just needs a big rocker up his backside, really, because it frankly wasn't good enough. But it's polar opposite, really. Both performed back to back. You're like, that's the Ox that we want to see week in, week out, as Ivan said. It's the consistent levels of performances which you need at a top club like Liverpool. It was all right when he was at Arsenal. He had one good game out of 10. He's got that capabilities. We know his qualities, but it's all down to Ox and what Ox wants to do with his career at Liverpool.
It's not even that, guys. It's basically his injuries, which doesn't help consistency.
Yeah,
let's be fair. If you're injured every 3 or 4 fucking games, you're not going to get anywhere. No consistency in your game, and he's been like that for 2 or 3 seasons. Similar to Naby. Naby's in the same boat. Him and Naby are almost a carbon copy of each other. We know they're good players. When they're good, they're really good, and then they get bleeding injured.
It's in his head, Dave, though, isn't it, mate? I think when at the game against Atletico Madrid, he looked, all of us, everyone around the world were like, oh, again, is he injured? Well, I think it's a lot of what Ox, most of his injuries, you might pull the odd hamstring or whatever, bad muscle tears, but like sports science, it's all to do with your mind as well. And for me personally, even when he was playing against Brighton, he was too scared to go in for these challenges. And it's just him personally. A lot of the battle is within Ox's head and his mentality, really, as well. But he's spot on there, mate. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, football's psychological as well. I mean, it's mental strength as well, and mentality. We're not called the mentality monsters for nothing. That's one of the reasons. Right, guys. So obviously we're happy. The Champions League's done and dusted. We've 2 games. We will try win the next 2. Of course we will. We've won the group. We won't be playing again. I think mid-February, something like that. Yeah. Nobody will want Liverpool. Let's put it that way. Okay, so back to the Premier League. Wednesday, 4:30, all eyes on West Ham Liverpool. Sunday. Sunday, 4:30, all eyes on West Ham Liverpool. Mighty Klopp. I can't wait for this one. This could be really, really interesting. I think it's going to be a tight one. I think there will only be a goal in it. Hopefully it'll be Liverpool with the goal the other way, 2-1. I think I said 2-1. I'm going to stick to 2-1 Liverpool. But I'm going to give you my 11. I want you to give me your 11 and whatever. We can have a chat about the game. But I think Alisson has to start. He's going to play in goal. We've an international break straight after it. So I'd keep Van Dijk, Matip. I just would. I think it's the best partnership that we've got. I'd have Tsimikas. He needs to run the games. Keep him there. Leave Robbo on the bench. He's going to play for Scotland probably 2 games. and he needs a rest. As Jack said, he's played most of the games the last 2 or 3 seasons. He hasn't had a bloody rest. And I'd have Trent starting to play now. He's starting to get into the groove. 2 assists on Wednesday night. And mixing me days up here. I'm so excited. And in midfield, I'd keep the fabulous Fabinho. Just great having him back on the pitch, guys. Captain Henderson, who were brilliant the other night. I think it's a toss of a coin between Ox staying and doing a bit more TikTok on the pitch instead of off the pitch, or Thiago. Does he stick? Does he twist? And it has to be Jota, Salah, Mane, because we've no Bobby. That's my team. It's only whether Ox plays or not. That's the only thing I think. Ivan?
Yeah, I think I go similar with you. And I think the one around Tsimikas is interesting. I think to Jack's point there, like what we have to get over, and I think Klopp is starting to get over, is we've loved all these players over the last 2 or 3 years, right? And we've loved our first 11, and we've been slated for not having a big squad, but we've also celebrated in having this first 11, and you could reel it off. It's the same team every week, and then suddenly somebody comes in and you're going, oh, Robbo's not playing, and you're kind of going, oh, I love Robbo, but we have to see past that, and we have to love them while they're playing, but also, if we're going to keep this up and we're going to keep going and not have another 30-year wait for a league title, we have to forget about the name on the back. And the better player comes in. And if Konate comes in and suddenly Van Dijk is dropped for a few games, trust the gaffer. He's made it. He's seen something. And I'm even struggling with this a little bit, because I what this first 11 or 12 have done over the last couple of years. But back to the team, totally agree on the back five. I actually think he's going to stick with Ox. And I think it would be harsh on him based on the performance the other night to drop him, particularly given that there's a break coming up. And then the front three is Salah, Mane and Jota.
And he's actually a decent. I think he scored a few goals. I know they mightn't have been at that stadium at the time, but I remember that brace he got in the orange kit a few seasons ago. If you remember, I remember the great game that game. So you know the way certain teams you score against, and you always score against them.
Yeah, so West Ham are a decent side, Dave, but they're they're quite similar to us. But I think with Moyes and West Ham, they've found a level. They're like top 10, probably 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there.
Top
really
eight,
good
top
football.
eight,
Yeah,
top eight,
really good footballers. But again, on our day, we should be beating them, and we should be going there and beating them. And if we play to our strengths, we will beat them.
Yeah. Listen, we bring our A game. We're a better team, man for man. We bring our A game, we win the game. They bring their A game, we still win the game. You know what I mean? Their game's better than their A game, but it will be a tough game. And I mean, you know, as you say, there's similar philosophy to us. Press. Yeah. You know, really pacey. Use the wing backs. Use their full backs. It's going to be a really, really interesting. I can't wait. Jackie boy, are you ready to dig your teeth into this West Ham sandwich?
Yeah, I think as much as for me personally, I'd love to see Ox play, but the selection will tell a lot about obviously Thiago coming up against the likes of obviously Souček and Declan Rice, probably one of the most informed midfielders in the whole of Europe, really. He's playing that well. Will Klopp trust him? But for me, I'd go with Thiago. Just for that bit more control in midfield. But so I go with Hendo, Fabinho, Thiago, and obviously same back five as you alluded to, with Costas left back. And then Bobby's injured, so you'd have to go with the main for the up front. I don't think it'll surprise us with a Taki or a Divock, but you never know. Jürgen, and I trust him. We all trust those two, is most importantly, don't we? As Ivan said, Jürgen, if he makes his decisions, like we seen Div when he come on, when he started against AC Milan, everyone was like, oh. And then he put that great performance in, ran his legs off, really. He's knackered by like the first 45. But yeah, I'm intrigued. Speaking to the West Ham lads as well, they're absolutely flying. It's not going to be an easy game, as you alluded to. Jared Bowen to an opportunity for all these West Ham players, an opportunity to sell themselves to Liverpool for any future potential move if they want it. Because I tell you, Ben Rahman, I think he's got 3 goals, 3 assists already in the Premier League. He started off quite well. And the main man, Antonio, if there was probably one or two, the main three, you'd probably, for me personally, I don't know how you feel, lads. Obviously, Jared Bowen, Antonio, and Declan Rice, that you'd look at that West Ham side, and even possibly a Souček as well. They've got a lot of good talent within that squad, but Antonio, if the opportunity ever arose, and obviously we've spoke about Jared Bowen being linked to Liverpool, but Antonio, after James Milner, if he does retire or leave the football club, I'd be very much looking at Antonio. Yeah, he can play up front, but what most important about Antonio, he's very adaptable. You can play him left back, right back, but he scores goals as well, which is the most important.
Yeah. I don't know whether he's an FSG type player. You know, English. When you buy an English, he actually plays for Jamaica. Is that right? He's Jamaican.
Yeah, Jamaican, I think.
Jamaican international, yeah. Well, you know, from club to club, from West Ham to Liverpool, the usually transfer fees just go astronomical. Unless he's a year left in his contract or he's on a free agent, it's unlikely Liverpool will put a 90 million or an 80. You look for something stupid on him.
Yeah, he's a Jurgen Klopp player though, and he mate. And I think a lot of people would have said that when Robbo come in, and even when we were.
Yeah, but Robbo was only 8 million.
Yeah, but Antonio wouldn't be that much. I know.
He would. West Ham,
I'd say
he's the main man.
He's a 50 million player.
Yeah. He's 50, 60 million.
Yeah, I think so.
Easily. Yeah. To West Ham, he's worth that. You know what I mean? He's the main man.
Suppose.
He's the talisman, you know. I don't know whether he would. Listen, I'd take anyone to have on the bench. Imagine having Antonio on the bench at the moment. Wouldn't that be nice with Bobby injured? But West Ham is a must-win, but we always do well there. Chelsea play Burnley, which is a win. City will get Summit and United, they'll get loads. I think, we'll talk about City United right at the end, but I think United might give them a game. That Brighton result makes this one a must win. Yeah, we got to win. I think draws are no use anymore, guys. No. I mean, we've far too many draws. We're like Tony Hart. We're drawing all the time. So, Owen, you ready to rock from the 80s style hairstyle? So I'm
always ready to rock with this hairstyle.
Yeah. You're rocking and rolling. So what 11 would you go with?
Yeah, very similar. I wouldn't play Chamberlain. I wouldn't start. I've decided now. I wasn't sure before. I'm not starting Chamberlain because he looked particularly knackered when he went off, and he might have gone off before, and I don't want to rush him into anything. Save him that wonderful performance. Save him for after the international break. We've got tons of games coming up, of course, after the international break. So he wouldn't start for me. And also in midfield, I mean, with Declan Rice in amazing form, really amazing form, and Souček, who's one of the most underrated players in the Premier League, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. So they have two wonderful central midfielders. They got loads of great players. In the last 5 games, they've won 4 and lost only 1. So they're third in the form table in the last 5 games. They've scored 9 goals and conceded 4. So they're quite hard to break down. So I would say, in comparison, Liverpool have conceded 7. They've conceded 4. I'd say we need Thiago for this game because he's the one who can create things, the pass before the pass or whatever, but he passes to people in space. And his link up with Fabinho and Trent and everybody, his link up with everybody is going to be one thing I would be a bit wary of is pushing the defence too high. Because Thiago can't run backwards. That's the big problem in this game. He's wonderful at everything, but he just can't run backwards. So, so we're going to keep the ball as much as possible, keep the ball away from them, win it with guile and style. So Thiago gets a game. And also Costas at left back, I would start with him simply because of a stat I saw from the marvellous Andrew Beasley on Twitter earlier, who said that Costas Tsimikas created 3 big chances in 13 minutes the other night against Atletico Madrid. And Andy Robertson has created 3 big chances since February.
What?
Which is an incredible stat.
Yeah, that is incredible.
Yeah. That shocked me now.
Shocked me. I mean, it's not as if Roberts are playing badly because he's getting up and down and he's doing really well. And it's like his crossing has almost made it, but it's been well defended a lot of the time, and so it hasn't actually found its man the cross. But
jeez, that has shocked me into getting another beer.
But I think Costas, he would keep his place because also defensively brilliant. And so he's played in 5 matches so far for Liverpool, and we haven't conceded a goal. He hasn't started all of those matches this season, but that's how it's looking for this season. But that includes Norwich and Preston, but Watford. But he's Athletic Cambridge is a huge test. It's not as if they're a rubbish team; they're a brilliant team, and he was.
Oh, he's really he's landed perfectly. He really has. Can't take that away.
Absolutely.
So there you go. So that's
Jamie Phillips Football Chats. Evening, Dave. Evening, panel. Check out Jamie Phillips Football Chats on YouTube as well. Top Reds content. John Moore has a question here. Do you guys think West Ham will keep this up or will fall off? I presume means fall off for the rest of the season. I think they can keep it up.
I think they can too, yeah.
They were good at the back end of last season. It's just a continuation, isn't it, lads?
They're a good squad, as I said. Like, they found a level, and Moyes has found his level. So they're just right, and they'll finish 6th or 7th. They'll cause all kinds of problems for teams. They won't get into the top 4, but they'll do really, really well, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Alan C, a good friend of Owen and the Cop On podcast crew. I agree with Owen about Tsimikas. I thought he should have kept his place at the start of the season after Robbo's injury. Do you know what, guys? The thing about Tsimikas is, for me, isn't it beautiful to have a player on the same level as Robertson and be even him and Han who you're going to bloody start, because we've been crying out for the past 2 or 3 seasons for someone that can fill Robbo's boots. And now we have him. You've guys on TikTok and Instagram giving out. What do they want? Do you know what I mean?
We're too spoiled, Dave, aren't we? The majority of us.
Well,
we're not used to it. We're not used to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you look at the Man City squads, and they've 2 for every position, and like, that's an amazing thing to have. But I think we've appreciated not having 24 world-class players. We've appreciated having 11 or 12. Now we're at, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, we're now at 15 or 16, which is the ideal to keep the camp kind of happy, because you're not making mad changes every week. It's a 1 or 2. As I said, I'm still getting my head around. Robbo's my favorite. I love him. I'm still getting my head around somebody maybe coming in and potentially taking his place. And you look at where he's come from with Hull, and now he's the captain of Scotland, and he's got that shithousery about him as well. That he's tough and he's passionate. But that's we have to have people challenging for positions. We really do. And I think that the point you made about some of the West Ham players, like, we need somebody to start challenging Fabinho. He's not going to be around forever. Henderson's going to be going soon.
Yeah, totally.
Salah and Mane. Now, I think Salah's going to be around a lot longer, but Mane, we need people coming in. We need people coming in who are putting these guys under pressure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I said that for ages. Yeah, that was my top priority in the summer, was a defensive midfielder to challenge
Fabinho. And a striker.
Well, that was second. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Declan Rice with the English.
Isn't he much more? He's a much more kind of attacking kind of player. He reminds me of Henderson to a large extent. Do you know what I mean?
He'd be huge money now. I mean, Declan Rice would be like fried rice with chicken and fried rice in a real expensive restaurant. You know, what am I paying that for fried rice?
Gold-plated box.
So I don't know about him. I know City were looking at him. Even United were looking at him. I think he'd be 100 million. He'd be like Grealish. 100, an ex-Ireland international. Another one. Him and Grealish. Rice and Grealish. But guys, I think the last 2 or 3 minutes, we might even have a little fun Friday night little trivia quiz. I know Owen is going 80 style, so we could go 80 movie style. I know Jack's probably out of his depth here. But I'm sure.
Man is 15.
Yeah. PG for Jack tonight. But just before we do that, in the comments, guys, hit the like, get 1 or 2 little comments in for the last 5 minutes on favorite TV shows, intros, or movies from the 80s or even 90s if you really want. And what's your scorelines? I'm saying 2-1 Reds on Sunday. Salah Mane. Jack?
2-1 Dave. 2-1 Liverpool. We'll go with that.
Ivan?
3-1 Liverpool.
Whoa, I think Owen's going to be a 3-1 man as well.
3-2.
Whoa!
Yeah, I think with Bowen and Antonio and Fornells, we haven't even spoken about. He's in great form. Pablo Fornells. Yes, it was.
He
the
was the
guitarist in the 80s.
Jump.
Correct. No, I wish. No.
We're all going for obviously a win for the Reds, but listen, it won't be an easy game. It's going to be a tough game, but it'd be nice to get the 3 points and go into the international break really in a good place. All rosy in the Anfield Garden, as I say. So for the last 5 minutes, guys, get your comments in. Only Fools and Horse. Now, everybody loves a bit of Fools and Horse. Even Jack. Come on, Jackie boy. You know what I mean?
Aye. Yeah, it's good. Classic.
Classic
bar scene. It's classic television, that bar scene.
The one when he just falls?
Yeah, that translates everywhere globally.
Oh, it's classic, yeah. I did it myself once or twice. Do you know what, as well? The other one with the chandelier. Remember the one there on the ladder? They were on the ladder at the chandelier, Rodney and oh my God. I mean, 80 shows, for me, early 80 shows would have been the likes of, let's say, even Spitting Image used to be on a Sunday bloody night. It used to be on lateness. I think 9, half 9 Sunday night. Do you remember that, Ivan, as well?
Yeah,
anybody's in their 40s.
And to Owen's hair, like what I used to love, I was big into a band called the Smiths. I'm not sure if you remember.
Oh yeah, Roberts.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Morrissey.
That was the Cure, Morrissey. Yeah, and you couldn't hear them, so like you'd have to buy the NME. And we used to kind of go to a disco on Friday night, and if we got lucky, you'd meet the girls at HMV, if you remember that shop, in Grafton Street the next day. But the music just wasn't on the telly, and there was one program that came on MTV on a Sunday night called 120 Minutes, and I lived for this show every Sunday.
It was a different world, wasn't it?
It was a different world. But I used to compete against my grandmother at home because she used to watch Glenroe at the same time.
Yeah,
so with
I didn't watch that crap.
Glenroe.
That was like it was like an Irish version of Emmerdale Farm. Even way worse.
10 times worse.
Way worse. But do you know what I used to like? Go way back. Hill Street Blues. New York. Was it New York? The police show. 80s.
Yeah.
Oh.
The music, Dave. The music was just superb. And
the music in the 80s was mad, wasn't it? Amazing.
Miami Vice and all that kind of stuff.
Do you know what? The music, even in the cartoons, was a full orchestra. Fellas on air guitars for cartoons, like at 4 o'clock in the day. It was just dreamland stuff, you know. What's that? Ray Cokes was class on MTV.
Yeah,
Ray
he was
Cokes.
good. He was good. He's a good presenter. Yeah.
Fraggle Rock, Rory Fitzgerald, even another classic. Fraggle Rock. Oh my God. Fraggles, get those Fraggles. I used to love that. The Fraggles used to live underneath. What? Danger Mouse.
Danger Mouse was an underrated cartoon from the 1980s.
Oh yeah, that one.
You look a bit like Penfold, actually, or Danger Mouse. Do you remember him?
He was one of my childhood heroes.
Magnum PI, oh my God, the moustache with the Hawaii t-shirts with the short sleeve. I got
good. Yeah.
Do you know what? Here's a quick story before we go. Starsky and Hutch. I know it's 70s, but I have a photograph when I was a kid. I think it was 4 or 5 down in the park down where I live here in Drumcondra, wearing a Starsky and Hutch t-shirt in the summer, sitting on a swing with Starsky and Hutch. That says mid-70s, baby. I think it's 77. Starsky and Hutch.
Need that out next week, Dave. You need to get that on the show.
No, the big thing was I was on Grafton Street in Dublin, a famous street in Dublin, standing outside Brown Thomas about 3-4 years ago. And this guy walks up to me with his girlfriend, with his arm around his girlfriend. He's walking up and stops right beside me, looking in the window of a nice top-of-the-range store. Who is it? David Soul from Starsky and Hutch. It was Hutch. And I went... So I was thinking of Salem's Lot, Salem's Lot. And I went, oh my God, Dave, how are you? And he's there chatting away. You know me, I chat to bleeding anyone. David Soul, oh fuck, who's this lunatic? Chatting for about 2 minutes, you know, talking about Starsky and Hutch and bleeding Salem's Lot. And he was telling me he was doing some Gaiety show with some production between Dublin and London, and he was only over for a few weeks, and it was just lovely. Just I couldn't believe it because he was like an icon.
A serious actor as well.
Don't give up on me, babe. Yeah. You remember that song? Oh, top of the range. What's it saying here? Dave, you loved it. Yeah, right up the street, man. They're absolutely anything to do with the 80s, baby, will do me. David Banner, we know who that was. But that was Simeone. That was Simeone, by the way. He was like the Hulk the other day. But do you know what? Just before we go, I don't know where to check. Look, if you're in your 30s, you just don't know what I'm fucking talking about. But
I've got I know some of them anyway. I've got like the Google fantastic.
Google. That
Fantastic
wasn't even
photos,
around.
Google.
Do you know what? I went into a famous store in Dublin to buy my first ever, vinyl, a 45 vinyl, a single on each side, and you put it on the record player. It was Annie Lennox, Must Be Talking to an Angel. You know that song?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Annie Lennox, it was. Eurythmics.
I remember Annie Lennox, but I don't remember that tune.
It was Eurythmics. You remember the one? Must Be Talking to an Angel.
Oh, no, it's
early
clear.
80s.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. So that was the first one I ever bought, and that was, I was coming home, and oh my God. And I used to do DJ at all the kids' birthdays and put shit on, like, pass the Dutchie on the left hand side.
Or even the Everton theme song, very well.
What is that? The cars, isn't it? The police
cars.
Z cars.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Rubbish.
They're hilarious.
Absolutely. Well, did you have any, or the cassettes, when you had a cassette tape and you used to have to roll it back with a pen?
Yeah.
You get the pen in and roll the bloody thing back because the rewind button wouldn't work on your bloody Walkman or something like that, wasn't it? That's what it was. It was just absolutely crazy times, but great times.
Indeed,
and another story of it was the VHS disc, your VHS video cassette. You'd actually imagine renting saying to a kid, now my 10-year-old daughter, we used to have to go to a store like a library to rent films and make sure that back the next day you get a fine. And make sure they're rewinded. Or you get a 50p fine if they're not fucking rewinded. What a load of beep. You know what I mean? What? Yeah. And then you are on Netflix and fucking TikTok, Instagram, boys. Oh, yeah. Have you any 80s stories to tell me? Oh, sorry, you're more of a 90s man.
Well, no, I mean, I was, I was born in 1980, so I'm 41. I remember the late 80s pretty well, from 87 onwards. That's when my first, concrete memories were formed. But, unfortunately, I lost most of these memories in my sort of wild youth, hence the hair. Of my wild days. I actually don't remember too much about the 80s, but I do remember some classic things going on. Yeah, I don't know, a Quantum Leap. The TV shows, Time Travelers. I remember quite a lot of shows and that, but 80s memories. I remember Back to the Future 2 was maybe as early 90s, but with the hoverboard, that was always my dream.
Should you have them on the street? They have them on the street.
They exist now, which is crazy. Yeah, but what you don't have is clothes that dry themselves. And I was thinking now that's really cold. It's cold here in Paris. Walking around, it's wet. It's raining. It's November. The cold November rain. All that shit. So what you don't have is clothes like in Back to the Future 2 that dry themselves, or clothes that are like heaters. Imagine if you had like a heater in your jumper or your jacket. That's the future.
Tomorrow's
Get
world.
on it.
Tomorrow's world.
Tomorrow's world.
World.
Man, yeah. What was the presenter's name? He did a great show called Connections as well.
Yeah.
James Burke, is that his name?
Was it? I don't know. You have me there. You have me there. It reminds me of Blue Peter, but you're just going way back. Or Pebble Mill. Do you remember Pebble Mill?
Pebble Mill, yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah. BBC One, I think it was.
I remember. I saw Otis Redding. Right, this is something that I've never found since. It's not on YouTube. Otis Redding and Tom Jones doing a duet on Pebble Mill daytime TV, and honestly, Tom Jones outsings Otis Redding to the point where Otis Redding is like visibly he's embarrassed. He's like cowed on the stage at the amazingness of Tom Jones.
Be kind, rewind. That was the poster up in the video shops. Do you know what I tweeted about 2 weeks ago, or last week maybe? To remember V? Remember V? Early 80s V in the 80s, the original series. Of course, I absolutely loved it. But Diana, the girl everybody probably loved or hated, she was like the villain in the thing, the alien villain. Her name is Jane Badler, and she'd be on Twitter quite a lot. So I tweeted, what a show. She had a picture of the poster up with V, and she actually replied back to me saying, what a time. And that's exactly what we're talking about right now, the 80s. what a time. I know Jack probably wasn't born, but
Well,
his dad will tell him all about it.
Yeah,
You know?
like even like I studied film in uni as well, mate. Like even like films, like 80s films now that are getting made, they're just studios are throwing money, even like music videos and even TV shows to that extent. Really, no, there's no real creativity from anyone now. It's all ripping off each other and
remakes.
Yeah, it's
just
remakes and that.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
I actually think I know a lot of people like those Marvel and whatever you call them. What is fuck? There's too many. What you're gonna do there is you're gonna drown the whole system out. I think Sheridan, the Irish director, actually said it, and he said it right. He says there's far too many of them, and when there's too many,
You just saturate it,
saturate it, and it just downplays absolutely everything. And I was a big comic fan in the 80s when comics and cartoons were real. I mean really real. But like, you know what I mean? I mean, now it's just every bleeding week there's a new movie or there's a Netflix. I don't watch them. I just don't go near them. I just think they're
so saturated, isn't it? With like
I'm trying to write one. I'm trying to write it. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I've actually got a Netflix might be interested in my idea.
Well, what's your idea? The hairy hippie from hell.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. It's a horror with Slash from Guns N' Roses. No, it's an idea. It's actually quite a dark story. I don't want to go into it, but it's a true crime story from Jersey, the island where I was born. And I just think it'd be quite interesting to develop this story. And I've got a French production company who's interested in making it. But the process, though, the process to go from an idea to actually getting it out there, you know, and made and everything is a very long process. But there are so many people telling me, like, you know, you need this kind of character and this kind of character and this kind of character as plot devices, or because that's what the audience expects. And they're right, because, you know, audiences they know what the audience expects, because that's what's done and that's what they've said according to their research that the audience likes. You know, they like X, Y, and Z, so they try and put X, Y, and Z into the show. But my opinion is that I'm going to go with some of those ideas, but not all of them, because otherwise it just becomes a generic thing that lacks any originality. Or so
I'll direct it out if you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you need a lunatic, give me a ring. do you know another thing? Maybe from being born in the 70s, it's just now. I know a lot of people, probably Ivan as well. He probably watches them, but I don't watch box sets. I don't know anything about Squid Games. I don't know anything about any. Never even watched Netflix.
No, I watched them all.
I have them all.
Narcos season 4 is starting tonight.
Don't watch it.
Oh, really? Right.
Don't watch it.
Watch it. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Dave, when you switch on Netflix, your mind to go, whoa.
No, I don't. I watched documentaries.
Documentaries are good. James Burke, he was the one I was talking about. It's not a well-known documentary. It's on YouTube. James Burke Connections. All right, everybody watch that. It's the most amazing thing. It's in the 70s. His fashion's incredible, but it's brilliant. It's about the history of ideas and inventions and how they're all connected to each other.
Wow.
It's really, really, really good. I'm sure you do.
There's some great documentaries on Netflix, Dave.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, no, I have everything. I've got that Sky Q with everything on it. Yeah. And my wife now, see, you can connect it to tablets and you can connect it to your phone and everything. You don't even need a telly anymore. But my little girl would watch, because Netflix, and you know, on Netflix, you can have like your profile. So she's 10, so she can't watch anything over 12. And because you're an adult, you can watch so this type of thing. You even have a picture of me, some model guy like this. That's my profile. But like, I go, who's that guy? That's you, Dave. That's you, Dave. She goes, Dave, or me, your dad. That's you, Dave. So, yeah, I probably will, but I like documentaries. I like dark documentaries. I like real, true life crime or true life, you know, documentaries, space, universe, that type of stuff. Intergalactic stuff, you know.
There's some mad true life crime documentaries on Netflix. I went through a stage of watching them, but I can't watch them now. They're too gruesome.
They are the biggest sellers. Take Squid Games out of it, but the biggest booksellers and the biggest video film sellers like Netflix and documentaries are actually true life crime. They're crime and horror. They're not good. They're not Enid Blyton, fluffy bleeding. You know, none of that bullshit. It's the
Real
likes of
stuff.
serial killer stuff. You know, it's serial killer cornflake serial stuff, and like that's what I'm saying. Like I was watching a documentary the other day. I don't know what I'm sure you heard of them. 2 serial killers working together. It's not that unusual when you look at those lunatics in England, Fred West and Rose West and stuff like that. But these are 2 fellas in America, absolute psychos. I think Otis, what was his name? Otis, what a name. Otis, and he's a serial killer. Did you get that one? But anyway, and the other guy's name was Henry Lee Lucas. These 2 guys, Americans. I even forgot how many people they killed. That's how bad they were.
I was just laughing at Eamon there with his comment. They still watches telesex for the Scotland States.
Do you know what? I used to love teletext. I used to love it. But we had a version over here called Airtel, and it was it would give yesterday's news, yesterday's weather. Yesterday was raining. Yeah, what's going to happen today? Fucking terrible it was.
Brilliant.
I think he got his news from the BBC, didn't it? Ivan.
But you're right. You could turn on the news. Today's news. It will be sunny and it's lashing rain. It's snowing.
So teletext was class, especially for the Sunday, the Saturday afternoon at 10 to 5. Liverpool 1, Everton 0.
I think there will probably be a true crime documentary in a couple of months after Rafa's been finished with Everton. So, stay tuned for that anyway.
I'll have to edit that out. But you know what I mean? But listen, guys, I've enjoyed that. It's Friday night. We're all going. We had a nice little finish to a Friday night. Why not? Enjoy your weekends, guys. Thanks for coming into the comments. Ivan Jennings,
Thank you.
Jack Mac LFC, Slash from Guns N' Roses and Cop On Podcast, of course. It has been an absolute pleasure. Liverpool to beat West Ham on Sunday. International break, guys. Do you know what? I might even have a look at Netflix. Stay safe. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.